He's here, and he's brought the fear. The pair has reached the clearing where Mona saw the monster earlier. Remnants of that fateful encounter still adorn the area. The half-chewed berries lay next to the weird footprints of the three extraordinary visitors. Mona has her sketchbook in her hands, following a blueprint she has drawn in pencil and red pen. She directs Terry on where to put the trap pieces she has brought with her. They both have on mismatched protective gear Mona took from the attic. One shin guard each from Mona's dad's little used sporting equipment. One oversized knee pad and elbow pad each. Terry wears an oversized batter's helmet, which wobbles and moves independently from his motion. They both wear one rubber glove each and one hockey glove. Mona wears a headband, it just seems fitting, and has protective goggles on. Not there! Mona's voice stops Terry putting a rope around a tree branch. Higher! Mona sternly grabs the rope off him and puts it around a higher branch. She tightens up a bit of the trap with her pliers, which she then puts back in her pocket. These need to be tight, not tight. Terry rolls his eyes. You know what would make this more fun? No, what? Mona says, still inspecting trap hinges and screws. You not being a straight up final boss? Terry smiles. Mona stops working to look at him. Terry can't lie. It's one of the things Mona likes about him most. She doesn't have to try to work out what he's saying, as he just says it. And he's often right. Sorry, this trap has to work. I have to capture a monster on film. It's the only way to prove I'm not lying. We build a trap, we film a monster in it, we share it with our classmates. I have proof monsters are real. Mona empties the bag of hard toffee, partially hiding the noose rope trap on the floor. Thanks for helping me, BBFF. Girl with a plan. You know, the class would defo like you if you just talk to them. Terry offers. Mona shudders. Let's try catching a monster first, then I will try the hard way. Hey, you know what else would make this more fun? Eating some of that toffee while we wait. It really wouldn't. Mona pulls a scrunched face. Terry and Mona peep out of a bush, spying on their ingenious snares and awaiting their prey. They both look a bit bored, as they have been there a while. Both are trying but failing to bite into their hard butter toffee bars. Terry takes to nibbling at the edges as a tactic. It fails. I feel like I have to warn you. Me mum says I have ants in my pants when it comes to waiting. The doctors call it something with all capital letters, so I probably won't be able to do this sitting still thing very long. Shh! We need to be quiet, Mona insists. Accepted, but that's another problem I was telling you about. My brain box is already telling me to spin around and yell stuff, says an animated Terry as his headgear wobbles. Mona, now remembering how much sugar is in the bars, wonders if she did the right thing letting Terry have one. Even if he can't eat it outright, the second-hand tongue contact could give him the sugar high shakes. She has seen him on those before. The class gerbil, Kevin, saw the brunt end of it too. She often wonders if Kevin, the gerbil, survived his trip in the wooden plane Terry put him in. Last time she saw him, he was soaring over the treetops after being launched out the window by Terry's hand. He didn't do it out of spite or cruelty, he did it for the liberation. He thought Kevin should be set free. That type of sugary side thinking was not needed at this precise time.
You may want to stop eating the toffees and tell your brain box to shush.
Well, it hasn't listened to me advice yet, but I can give it a... A familiar, fearful bellow cuts Terry off and paralyses the words in his mouth.
It's working,
says Mona excitedly.
It's coming this way. About time too.
Thunderous footsteps shake the ground and bang the eardrums. Trees creak, screaming as they are pushed apart. The hot garbage smell hits the back of Mona's and Terry's throats. The menacing monster steps into the clearing. Mean muscles ripple under the hairy scales. Sharp, tearing teeth fill a mouth of terror. The spiked horn on its snout threatens to cut the air itself. The beast moves with an apex predator menace, looking like it may strike at any moment. Terry's normal kinetic body is a glaciated block. He manages to whisper out a sentence from his scared, rigid lips.
That's not a 1980s wrestling bear rhino?
Mona watches the beast keenly, lost in its fierce majesty, while Terry is lost in its fearful monstery. Mona's fright has been replaced by the grandness and honour of seeing this unseen creature in its natural habitat. She is now aware of the beauty in this beast. She nudges Terry to start filming. He does after she nudges him harder. The monster sniffs the air. His nose leads him to the pile of toffee bars. He rampantly shoves one hole in his mouth, wrapper along with it, then another bar, then another. His massive sharp teeth ready themselves to crunch the sweet treat in his massive dribbly mouth. As his jaw closes hard, he howls in pain. A squealing, painful howl that punches knives at your eardrums and continues inwards to wrap your brain in barbed wire. The ear-splitting noise also shatters Terry's last nerve. His panic hits all his limbs at once. Mona grabs him, trying to hold him down, to keep him hidden. There's no chance. His left leg wants to run away from his right one. His arms try to leave his torso. His backbone tries to snake crawl off to safety. They tumble out of the bush, towards the beast. Terry's baseball helmet falls off, rolling and bouncing over the monumental meat plate foot of the monster. The beast remains motionless, its power being held primed in its taut muscles. Its eyes holding an animal rage, slowly looking from his foot to the two fallen children. They look back at him like the tasty prey they know they are, both feeling like they are now the equivalent of a free breadcrumb-coated hot Happy Meal. The one-horned horror takes an angry stride towards them, his foot landing in the noose on the floor, setting off the trap. A series of pulleys and ropes start to interact with each other. A line tugs, a cog turns, a branch bends, a counterweight falls. The beast follows the motion as it makes its way through the snare intricacies around the tree. He looks at the moving parts with curiosity. Mona looks on with anticipation, and Terry views the springing trap in pure horror. A thin skipping rope springs up from under the pile of toffee. It tightens around the big toe of the monster. The trap has worked. The beast is snared. Kind of. The monster wiggles his muscular toe. The rope attach, strains. Fibres beginning to snap under the strain, and probably out of the terror too. There is a beat of calm as all three beings in the clearing take a moment to look at the frail rope around the toe of the big beast. All three of their minds are too confused by the sight to immediately react. They need a moment to process this startling situation. The monster reacts first. Terry follows next, running away at speed only sheer panic and sugar can give.
Run, Mona, run! I can't die before I make a popular meme!
Mona stands with the aid of her crutch. Her mind tells her she should be scared. She should be running faster than Terry. And she is scared and she wants to run. But moreover, she is transfixed. She and the beast stare at each other. He roars a big, wide-mouthed bellow straight at Mona. She gets a good view inside his mouth and stares down his throat. The stink from it is almost enough to knock her over. A stink that will be in her clothes for days, along with the spit. The smell from his mouth is a meaner smell than his fur. It evokes a lightning bing in her brain. One synapsis waves at another one, and they begin to sketch out a picture, inviting more of their synapsis pals to help paint in the details. The view into the overstuffed toothy stinkhole is changing her view of the creature. But there's no time to focus on a developing mind photo, as the monster steps towards her, breaking the trap, holding him. Curiosity trumps fear, and she stands her ground. Like an ancient rock, she will not be moved. It's not bravery that keeps her rooted, it's wonder. From the forest comes a literal call to adventure. Tally-ho! Bellows a leaping Amedicus. He looks like a colourful bird of prey swooping down from the heavens. His long nose is beakish and his flowing coattails are flapping wings. Now it's the monster's turn to be afraid. Its face falls in fear as Amedicus lands on the back of the beast. The bag, Tiny! Bring me the bag! Tiny comes running from the forest, gripping the doctor's bag while taking the weight of it on his head. His out of proportions feet get caught up in the ropes of the trap. He falls spinning into the rope, ending up tied, hanging upside down. The bag continues to roll, stopping at Mona's feet. Girl, the bag! Throw me the bag! Cries Amedicus, hanging onto the beast's back as it tries to shake him off. Mona follows the orders physically while mentally still rooted to the spot. The congruous conflict ends in her falling over the rope, toffee and bag ending up directly under the dangling Tiny. A vast, hairy, scaly, non-wrestler's hand grips Amedicus. The abominable animal launches Amedicus into one tree and sees him bounce off, hitting two more and landing inside a bush. The rhino-horned horror blasts off into the forest. Tiny, arms folded, hanging upside down, shoots Mona an accusing stare under his wonky eyebrows as he slowly swings on the confining rope. It's a moment of uncanny calm after the explosive excitement, broken again by Amedicus exuberantly exiting a bush. Good try, everyone, good try, but let's not sit about like vazy foozlers. There's a patient that needs our help. He stands long and tall. He straightens his hat, dusts himself, his coattail still seemingly dancing under its own power. He reaches out his long, thin arm and offers his long, thin, velvet-gloved hand to Mona. Mona stares at it like it's an alien object. She may have been able to overcome her fear of the monster with help from her curiosity, but this fella and his petite, perturbed pal are something else. Amedicus leans in closer, looking puzzled, his long nose almost pressing on Mona's. You want to catch up with that Fooperus, don't you? Mona's hand reaches for Amedicus's before her brain can stop it. All in one connected movement, Amedicus swiftly pulls her up onto his shoulders, flicks her crutch up and into her hand with his pointy boot, and slaps Tiny, unravelling him from the hanging rope to bump to the floor. With his other boot, he flicks the batter's helmet up to Mona, which he is still strapping on as he takes off at startling speed, running and leaping on the trail of his quarry. Tiny inhales a deep, irritated breath, picks up the bag, holds it on his head, exhales a long, annoyed breath, and Scamper runs after Amedicus and Mona. The chase is on!